Hey guys, Dennis here. We have Alex, we had Tamara, Muddy Water Search and Recovery,
Good
and
evening, everybody.
Oh, hello.
good to see all of you guys. There are several already over in the chat. I think this is the most we've started with in a while.
Yeah, I think so, which is a great thing. So, very.
And tonight's live feed is going to be a little bit different. The first part of it, Tamara will be doing some dowsing grad, and I'm not going to pretend to know a lot with that. She is the expert with that. And from that, we will go right into an open discussion. When she's doing this, please type your questions in the comment. Please make those a yes or no question and be as specific as possible. Before we go too far, though, I do want to do a quick update. I shared this case earlier today. Rebecca, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. She is a school teacher that went missing. She has been located deceased, so our thoughts and prayers are definitely with her family. And if we get more details on that, we will make sure to let you guys know. But wanted to get that out there.
Absolutely.
So, Tamara, if you don't mind, could you kind of explain for everybody what you do and in the details of that?
Okay, sure. So what I do is just kind of, there's different opinions on it, but connecting to your guides, your guardian angels, your higher self, and getting answers. And a lot of it is not always 100% right because it depends on how clear I am. And this is for entertainment purposes only, but it's something that hopefully that can maybe help with some guidance, maybe some good places to look. If people who were psychic or intuitive or dads could always find someone every time instantly, they really wouldn't be missing people. So it's not an exact science by any means. Sometimes it can be really accurate and sometimes it isn't. It really just depends. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. But basically, I just connect and so I have dowsing rods here. Here's my dowsing rods. I also actually initially was trained on a pendulum, same concept, getting answers yes or no. So the more specific you ask, like Dennis said, has to be yes or no. And it's best to have like one question at a time. Because if you ask were they here and where did they go? Those are two questions. So if you keep it really specific and the more detailed you are, the better. So the way with dowsing, it kind of works is you kind of keep asking and getting more detail and more detail. And then that kind of gives you confirmation if you're on the right path as well.
Okay. And this has been really interesting. You've done this with a few other cases on here. And as you're saying, the disclaimer, entertainment purposes only. We use this, as you're saying, it's not always accurate, but for us, this is another tool in the toolbox. And like anything, if Tamara gets a yes on a specific question or a no, we don't automatically assume that's the answer. At that point, we start looking for evidence that backs that up. So like anything else, we want evidence to back it up. This just helps point us in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I grew up very religious, and the religious views of all of this was not that good. But my personal opinion is anything can be used for evil or bad purposes. If it's purely evil, you're not going to be able to use it for good. And this obviously helps for the good.
Yeah. I was raised very religious too. So I understand. It's been a journey in the process, but it's basically just energy. Energy is neither good nor bad. It's how you use it. So.
Yeah. And I wish more people would understand that.
Yeah, it's a process, and I understand because I was raised very, very strict. So I understand, how I used to believe about it, and then now kind of how I see it. Sometimes we'll try to work in the science. You can think of it as like, universal source field. Albert Einstein talked about that as a universal source field that you're tapping into. Is quantum science talks about it. The quantum entanglement. Where you're thinking of someone and then they call you, or mothers that have known their children were in trouble and there was no way to know. That's kind of quantum entanglement, where the mom and the child are so connected that they just know certain things. So,
yeah. Well, it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's, and like we said, it's just another way for us to ask questions, look at things, and, it's just another way for us to look at something and make heads or tails of, what answers we might get and what other stuff that we have learned throughout the process, of a certain case. So, it's just all we can do is try. So,
yeah, and the missing loved ones and their families, they deserve every effort that anybody can put forward into doing this.
Yeah.
And we have, in fact, Arctic Fox True Crime asked, have you been in contact with any of Mark's family? We have. Alex also met some of them when he led a search effort in the area for Mark Fullerton in the past. And I believe he's got some relatives in the comments tonight. So, Tamara, if you're ready, Alex, if you want to start off with the first question.
Okay. Well,
put both of you on the spot here.
That's all right. I guess let's start off with basically our search efforts in Arkansas. So I guess to start off with Tamara would be, was Mark, okay, I got to remember how we do this, yes or no. Was Mark at the location in Arkansas where Tammy and I was at?
Okay. And just for clarification, when they go apart, that's a no. When they cross, it's a yes. So this would be a no.
Okay.
And then this is just center, kind of the neutral.
Okay. Dennis?
So is Mark Fullerton near water today?
That's yes.
And by all means, to the audience, you all are more than welcome to ask questions too. And like I said, please type them in the chat. And Dennis will, since Dennis is in control of the show, Dennis will put them on the screen for everybody to see. So I guess I would ask, is Mark in the location that we talked about in the last episode?
I get a yes. I get a yes for that one.
Okay.
And I do feel like sometimes I'll get like certain impressions too. And I feel like running water, like water, moving water.
Okay. So, and if this is the case, and this is so we are talking about the location of water where was it the blanket, the comforter was found in what I guess we could consider a drainage ditch between the farm fields. So.
Was Mark involved in an altercation the day that he went missing?
Oh, what do you mean by altercation?
Did somebody physically assault Mark Fullerton the day he went missing?
Yes.
Okay, we do have a question in the comments. Was there a fire involved when Mark went missing?
Get a no. And then some of this is going to be like how I interpret the questions too. So I'm thinking of that, like, was there a fire involved, like directly with him? You know, was there something directly with him? I get a no. So
Was Mark's current girlfriend involved with his disappearance?
I'm going to say involved or aware.
Whatever you think.
Yes,
I mean,
I'm going to say yes. I can keep it open to involved and aware. So I do get a yes on that.
Okay.
And I do see Mark's aunt is also on the call
Yes.
on his dad's side.
Yes, she is with us this evening.
So a question in the comments, was Mark injured with a firearm? And a second one kind of along those lines, was there a gunshot involved in Mark's disappearance?
I got a yes for both of those. We certain? Yeah. Okay. And I'm just asking, am I clear and getting good answers? What is PWL?
Okay. Was Mark carried out of the house the day that he went missing?
Okay, I got a yes.
Was Mark placed in the back of a pickup truck?
Got a yes.
In Risen Voices, we're having trouble with PWL. If you can let us know what that means. Was the comforter that was located in the drainage ditch related to Mark Fullerton's case?
Yes.
Okay, she said it's a name.
Was the initial initial PWL? If you can maybe ask the question in a different way, Risen Voices, that might help.
Risen Voices is PWL. Is this the concrete person that did concrete work? Okay.
Okay, so is the person who done concrete work involved in Mark Fullerton's disappearance?
No. Do that a little higher so you can see him.
Is Mark in the same location? Well, I might explain it and have you word this.
Okay.
Is he in the same location today that he ended up in the day that he went missing?
Okay. So if you say the exact location is no. Nearby, I get a yes. Nearby is very vague though, but nearby.
That's interesting because, Alex, that goes along with some of our conversations.
Yeah, it does.
Was Mark taken to a motel the day he went missing?
No.
Was the mattress that was located roughly a mile away, did that have something to do with Mark Fullerton's case?
Yes. Then one other question would be, where the mattress was located, was Mark there also at any point? And yeah, no.
Did the bleach have something to do with Mark Fullerton going missing as far as cleanup?
Okay. Yes.
Going back to this, did Mark have duct tape on his mouth or any kind of tape on his mouth after he went missing?
I get no. Nope.
Was the picture of an individual with tape on their mouth a decoy picture?
Not an intentional decoy, no. That's how I'm interpreting it. It may have worked out that way, but that wasn't the intention. Something different. I hear it's just something different.
Was Mark deceased when he left his girlfriend's house?
That night. Okay. Yes.
Does the person in Branson, Missouri, have anything to do with Mark's disappearance?
No.
Does the person in Branson, Missouri, have anything to do with Mark's death?
So a person who lives in Branson right now.
Yes.
Involvement, knowledge, awareness, something. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I get a yes.
Was Mark thrown over the bridge into water?
I get a no, specifically thrown over a bridge. I get no.
Is Mark in a septic tank?
I get a no.
And was Mark's body later retrieved and then burned?
I get a no.
Did Mark's body go from one body of water to a second body of water?
No, I'm going by names of body of water, so I get no. It's the same. It would be called the same name.
Is Mark's body in a location that was previously searched?
I'm kind of getting like a yes, no. I don't think it was. Was it searched incredibly thoroughly? No. Was it somewhat searched to a certain degree? I get yes. So
Is Mark's body in the Mississippi River along the state of Missouri?
no.
Is Mark's body being held down with something heavy?
Since it was it or at any point in time. Yes.
Has Mark's body been located but unidentified?
No.
That was a good question, Natasha.
That's a good question. I do feel like there are some missing people's cases that are, older where that may be the case.
And we've been able to help 3 different cases that was along those lines. Right? Was more than one person involved in Mark's disappearance?
Yes.
Was Mark wrapped into a comforter?
Yes.
Was the brother of the female Mark was living with involved in Mark's disappearance?
I'm going to say involved or aware or any knowledge. Yes. That could just be knowledge, but I feel like that's the general.
This has been really interesting so far. And was Mark thrown over a bridge?
I get a no on that. But I mean, that's very specific. Thrown over a bridge is very specific, which is a good question. But there might be other questions to ask.
Was Mark's body put in water near a bridge?
Yes. So was Mark's body put in water? Yes. Like I said, I feel like that. I whenever I think about it, I feel like, running water, like water moving all around.
Was the deputy who was in, I'm going to kind of reword some of that, was the deputy who was romantically involved with Marc's girlfriend involved in Marc's disappearance?
I'm going to say involved in the disappearance. I'm getting no. Like directly involved in causation.
Is Marc's body tucked in a crevice underwater?
Getting no. In my mind, I'm imagining that as like a large rock outcropping, and that would be underneath, and I get a no for that.
And will we find Marc in the area he was placed in the water at?
So this is future. So with future stuff, everything in future stuff can change. You make a decision 2 minutes later and the future can change. I think, is it possible? Yes. The will you, I think it, like I'm getting kind of a non-response, and I think it's like, it depends. It depends on a lot of things. There's not a, is it possible? Yes. Is it a guarantee? No. Like there's certain factors that would have to occur for it to happen. And also there's a timing thing, which is really weird. I've seen other cases where there's like a certain timing has to happen. I don't understand why, but sometimes that is the case. So is that timing involved? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. So it's definitely a possibility. Does it depend on obviously other people, but does it involve multiple people? Yes. So it's like multiple things kind of all need to work together, but it's definitely possible.
Are there trees around the water where Marc is located?
Yes, I feel like there are some trees. And near.
Is there a small shed on the property of water where his body might be?
So I'm going to interpret that is his body in a shed. No. That's a good question too from Brandon. Were there several? Yeah, were there several involved in Marc's disappearances? Yes, I see that as more than one. Yes, because I do, as we're doing this, I do hear yelling. And I do hear a male voice, female voice, but the male voice is very loud. Don't know what they're saying, because there's different types of, they call them clairs, like clairvoyance. The clairaudience is the one that's kind of like the first thing that kind of came natural to me as far as just, picking something up. And so that one, I don't hear what's being said, but I do hear very, very loud yelling.
So, were there signs given to us where he is by somebody putting a red X on the bridge?
Okay, just so did someone have a sign given to you by putting a red X on the bridge? Was it in? Yes. Yes. There's someone trying to help? Yes. Someone trying to hide? No. Definitely a no. So.
Hey, Jana, is this something that's just happened in the last few weeks, or is this something that happened a while back? just curious if this has happened since all of our discussions that we have had, and kind of the Mark's case being talked about a little bit more here in the last few weeks. Just out of curiosity.
And Brandon says the red X was on the first few searches.
Okay.
So is
It could mean a lot of things. Yeah, it could mean a lot of things.
Is Mark's body in a barrel?
No. It's a very definite no.
Is Mark's body in a washing machine?
No.
Is Mark's body in a dryer?
No.
Was the former spouse of the girlfriend involved in the death of Mark?
Not involved, no. Was there any level of awareness at any time? Yes.
Was he wrapped in a comforter and pulled into the ditch behind the girlfriend's house?
Okay, so that's a few questions. Was he wrapped into a comforter? Yes.
Was he pulled into the water? Was he pulled to the water in the comforter?
I'm going to change that to was he put into the water? Yes.
Because that just kind of eliminates the few questions of was he thrown over the bridge?
Yeah, there's something weird with that because, like, logically that makes sense to me, but I'm getting no's on that, and I'm not sure why. But
well, I'd be curious if there is in the farm fields on the property, if there is your typical farm roads, your path roads. If the back of that property there is roads, dirt roads, the access roads between the farm fields, between the lots, if it goes right to the water, which of course that would be out of sight theoretically of anybody if somebody was to go on a bridge and do something terrible, that way. So
because I feel like the bridge it'd be very public, but again, it's assuming someone would think of that. But the put in the water, centered again. Yeah, put in the water. I get a definite yes on put in the water. Yeah, I definitely feel water, like moving water, and I know that ditch is large, so it's almost like a large creek. It's just man-made. Don't see how the entry into the water occurred, but
you know where we're at, Dennis? There was quite a few that came in really quick all of a sudden, people asking questions.
Yes. Was Mark's body disposed of when they burnt the huge stack of tires?
No.
Is Mark's body wrapped in chains?
Yes.
Was there a black truck involved in Mark's disappearance?
Anyway, yes.
Was Mark's body taken and placed in water by a boat or from a boat?
Yes. I'm asking again. I still get a yes. We can maybe come back to that one.
Is Mark's body in the bio?
What's the bio?
bayou.
Oh, bayou. Oh, okay. How I'm interpreting a bayou is no, I see that as a swamp. So water. Yes, I do feel water. Like I said, I can see water rushing around.
I mean, this is pretty obvious. It's all pointing to the drainage culvert waterway. You know, I don't know what we call that. You know, it's it's a drainage. You know, what we would say up here between farm fields, a drainage canal to drain water off the properties and stuff. But I mean, it sounds pretty. You know, it sounds like everything's pointing to that location of interest that so many people have talked about.
Yeah, and I feel like there's, after this amount of time, there's like multiple locations too, maybe. I don't know.
And Janice says nothing new. No, as far as the red X goes, no, it wasn't there. We looked at that bridge all the time, and it appeared about a year later.
Okay. I feel like, is it someone trying to help? Yes. Whether it's intentional, level is intentional. Sometimes things happen like it's almost more like divinely guided. So it could either be someone directly trying to help to kind of get a yes on and for, but yeah, but then it also could be like it was put there for another reason, but it also means this, you know, kind of that synchronicity.
Tamara, do you want to take a break for a second?
Sure.
So I want to explain kind of why I asked the question that I did. Was Marc put in a washer? Was Marc put in a dryer? So this is really crazy. So when Tammy and I came back from when we went to Arkansas, and we did that investigation where we did the dig. When Tammy and I came home, we went through the area of interest. And as we were coming home, we went home a different way. But when we came through town, and then we came out of town on the side of this road, and I'm just curious if Jana has ever heard of this or has seen this, or anybody else that lives in that general area. I would consider this to be the west side of the road along a farm field. There was, in the middle of nowhere, there was a washing machine or a dryer that had what looked like a plastic Halloween skeleton hanging out the top of it on the side of the road. And it looked like somebody was like putting a sign out like, hey, look at this. And I remember telling Dennis, and then when we were coming home, you know, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what we just saw. And I'm just curious if anybody else has heard of that or had seen that on the side of the road. And this happened, you know, the year before last when we went down there. But it looked like, I guess in my thought, it was like a taunting sign, because why would somebody else? There was no houses around it. It was literally between the 2-lane highway that we were on, like a tall grassy ditch, and then a little bit of trees in a farm field, and that's where it was at, on the side of the road. But also, you know, thank you very much to everybody. It looks like we have like 27 people watching right now. At least that's what it's showing on my phone. But, you know, thank you very much for everybody that's participating tonight and asking questions. This is just, it's teamwork and working together and, asking questions, and everybody's brainstorming and, bringing stuff and, I hope it's bringing answers, and it will help, bring Marc home.
So does the water freeze? I feel like it doesn't, but does the water freeze in the winter? Like now would probably be the time it was going to freeze, but
down there, I mean, that's the southeast corner of the state, basically.
okay.
There is different times of the year that, like in the springtime, when you go down there, the grass is green, the trees are already budding, and up here where I'm at and kind of where Dennis is at, not as far as you, but where we're at, it's the grass hasn't turned green yet. I mean, we haven't even, any of that has started. So, it is a little warmer down there. I can't say 100% that it doesn't freeze down there. I don't know if the ponds freeze over like they do up here. So I'm not really sure. I'm sure people down there, if they're in the chat and they can, if they can bring that to our attention, that could possibly help.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't.
Risen Voices says that is the Boot Hill area, and sometimes it freezes, sometimes it's not. I've been in that area quite a bit in the past, years ago, and in the wintertime, in the creeks and the ponds were frozen.
Okay.
I got some friends down there that they like to go out and bust ice in their pond and do ice fishing and stuff in the winter.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
I almost feel like when you do your search, sifting, I hear sifting. Sifting's really important. I don't know if I feel like it's a lot of silt, mud, but there's also sand too, but the sifting is important.
Okay. Let's just give Tamara just a little bit more of a break before we start asking questions.
Yeah, just a couple minutes. Yeah, my arms get tired more than anything else.
We don't want no one, to get left out of their question being asked. Sorry if somebody's question did get passed over.
And here's the pendulum. It's an FYI. So this is actually a necklace from Crooked Trails that I just got.
Sweet.
So my teacher is the initial teacher that I learned dowsing from is this old Appalachian mountain man, and he uses a bullet as his pendulum. And this is turquoise bullet, but similar. But yeah, so when I first learned, it was like, clockwise meant yes, and you can stronger the yes, the more and more. And then like back and forth would be a no. So is the same thing, is the same concept. I think people like the dowsing rods a little better, but it works the exact same way. And then actually, in my opinion, all intuition does. It's just how clear are you and how connected are you to get the correct answer. So it's more of just making sure you have no influence more than anything else, that whatever answer you get. And the best way to know if it's working is when you really expect a different answer and you're like, I wasn't expecting that answer. So it helps.
And Risen Voices says, thank you so much, Tamara, for what you are doing.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. No, I just want to help. Hopefully this helps. And I did see a good question earlier. There's actually a lot of good questions. Yeah, I see someone saying someone almost had a panic attack when they stopped on the bridge. I've actually there was one, this is a case that was known, but someone, it was in Kansas actually, and we were driving around and they pulled in this area to see if I could feel anything. And it was so sad. It was just like, and I haven't felt that before, but it was so sad. And I guess a little girl had had drowned in the river or wherever it was right there, something like that. So yeah, sometimes you can feel like, think of it like energy, like it's, sometimes there's like impressions left in the energy, especially when there's a lot of strong emotion or something, tragic happened, or something that can be really good. It's like, places where people have weddings, or, people's houses that are super happy feel different than people who aren't. It's all just energy. And so sometimes those energies will hang around for a while. So.
In Risen Voices says, Mark's eyes are almost as blue as turquoise, in my opinion. Very handsome young man taken away from his family way too soon. Even as a guy, I got to say I'm jealous of Mark Fullerton's eyes. He's got that color that you don't see every day.
Yeah, I noticed that in the picture you had up for the show tonight. They're very bright.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian had a question. Is Mark approximately 1 mile from the girlfriend's house?
I'm gonna start with is he within 5 miles? Yes. 2 miles? Yes. Within 1 mile? Yes. Yeah, I get a yes. It might be on the edge, but yeah.
So you might have to go back up a little more, Dennis, to find where we left off.
The last question I've seen so far was the one from Brandon there. The rest has been conversation.
Okay.
And we do have a sifter that I built, but I will be building a couple more. So that way we can go from like big holes, so we're sifting through, down to little holes, so nothing's missed.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. There's something with the sifting, and also, like, it sounds weird, but like treating it like an archaeological thing, like what's having like pictures or video or images, assessment as best you can, depends on the water, but this is where it is now. This is what it looks like now. And then as you go through it, document it as much as you can, but, methodological, being very I can't say it, but being very careful and intentional with each step, and don't want to take forever, but I think, yeah, and that's part of it. And that will help. Yeah. So when you do roll something out, you'll feel very confident. And if you do find something, it will be, you'll be sure then too.
And I probably don't want to do this in a public setting, but tonight at the end of this, I want to pull up a map and let you see it and see if you get any intuition off of that map.
Okay.
And Jana, the location I'm talking about is what we all talked about in the last live. So I want to get Tamara's thoughts on that. I'm just not sure about pulling that up in a public setting type thing. This case, I don't want somebody to go in and remove evidence before we have a chance to get in there to find.
And I've seen I've been, practicing on, some cases that like even like the one that you just showed earlier, and I'll just use the map on my phone, and I usually use my pendulum for that, but just ask, is it start off like a big area, is the person's person located here, things like that, and just kind of drill down a little bit. I still haven't gotten the like aha moment of like, I actually found the exact location, but I've been similar. I've been like with the last person that you just showed earlier, I felt like she wasn't far from where she was and that she would be found quickly, but that one turned out very sad. Because I have a cousin that lives in Kansas, and she posted that. So, and she almost never posts anything like that. So, okay.
Is the sheriff department or any other public official involved in the covering up of evidence in Marc's case?
No, as far as intentional covering up. I feel like no with the, like out and out intentional.
Does the sheriff's department have information on Marc's case that they can't reveal publicly?
Yes. Could they use more detectives, more staff to help? Yes. Is there an issue with not having enough staff? Yes. I feel like that contributed to this. Yes. So I feel like there's something with that too. Yeah. They could have used more staff with it too. More resources. Yes. More resources overall. Yeah. All kinds of resources. So. Some care more than others, but yeah.
Was Marc involved in a fight in his girlfriend's kitchen the day that he went missing?
Was there a fight in the kitchen? Yes. Expecting to know.
Was Marc Fullerton ever put inside of a silo after he went missing?
I get a no.
Was Marc taken to the water after he went missing?
Yes.
Risen voices, when it comes to absolute guilt like that, I'm going to speak up for Tamara here. That is one of the things she's not comfortable answering in a public setting. Number one, just legal issues that can come from that. And number two, just how final that is. So that's one of the types of questions that we're not comfortable doing.
Yeah, because you still don't know if you're right. And sometimes when you do these things, people take it as like, oh, well, this must be what happened. And it's like, there's no guarantees, there's no way to know for sure, unless like you said, you have evidence, you have proof, things like that. And technically you have, trial by a court of law and all that too. And even like discussing like someone who passed, I normally don't do, but I think that's where everyone is comfortable with. So you never want to give away hope from family, and because I could be completely wrong, whatever case it is. So I never want to do that either. So we're kind of doing it like with this one, especially the premise of this. But yeah, so it's one of those things. There's certain things that are it's better not to ask. There's been cases where psychic or mediums have said something and they've been completely wrong, and it's had horrible effects on the family. So I don't ever want to do anything like that. I just want to make sure it's like, this is just what I'm getting now, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm right, but yeah, I prefer not to answer anything that's too specific because, again, I don't want that impression because I don't know, and there are some things that, I've worked on some cases where you're not supposed to know. I don't understand it, but sometimes I will get like a no, and it's like,
Yeah.
who knows? I don't understand it all, but there's always kind of more things at work than we know sometimes.
So, was Mark transported away from the girlfriend's house in the daytime?
Okay. No. Is it
Was he
nighttime?
transported
Dark?
away in the nighttime?
Yes. Yeah, you consider day or night. Yeah. Yes, night. Okay.
Was Mark transported away in the nighttime in the black truck?
Yes. Certain, yeah, black truck. Okay.
Was Mark Fullerton's necklace removed by him that day that he went missing?
No. He did not purposely remove it.
Did Mark Fullerton walk to his grandpa's the day that he went missing?
No.
Are there more than 3 people involved with Mark's disappearance?
I'm treating that as aware, involved, aware.
Are the people who are responsible for Mark's disappearance responsible for anybody else's disappearance?
Anyone at all. Yes. Yes.
Was Mark given something to overdose him? Or was Mark given drugs without his knowledge?
No. I didn't know to all those. Okay.
Was Mark deceased 2 days before he was reported missing?
No. I get a no.
Did Mark break up with his girlfriend the day that he went missing?
Yes. Was he going to walk away from the relationship? Yes.
Was Mark deceased the day before he was reported missing?
No, I think Some of it is like when the family felt, someone felt he was missing.
I don't know what I just did there.
So now we're back to the three. There we go.
And Brandon, we don't have an actual date in mind yet, but I just put our email in the chat. If you want to email me, we could definitely stay in touch on that.
Sorry, I'm not trying to ignore everybody. I'm looking something up here on Missouri State Highway Patrol. Because there is another guy who went missing on the same day as Mark in the state of Missouri. And I'm trying to find where he's at on the list.
Yeah, I feel like with that question we had earlier, I feel like it's someone that was missing for a short time. That doesn't mean that's the only one, but that's one of them. Okay.
Was the altercation that happened a dispute over money?
Yes. I'm saying, was money involved in any way? I get a yes.
And Janice says he had told a family member that she was trying to give him crack, which he didn't do any of that stuff. Hence why he was leaving her on Friday, but he went missing on Wednesday. She got into his phone.
Okay.
Was there an altercation between Mark and another male?
Yes.
Does the girlfriend's brother know what happened to Mark?
Does he know something happened? Yes. Does he know? Does he know everything that happened in detail? No. So there's some awareness. There's some direct knowledge. But does he know everything? No. There's something. It's hard to say what, but there's some knowledge of some kind.
And of course, the Missouri State Highway Patrol website is not working correctly as usual.
It could be all that snow.
Word. Sorry, everyone. I wasn't trying to get distracted, but I was thinking of something in the past that we had talked about, and so I was looking at Mark's, date of disappearance, and there is somebody else in the state, but it's not letting me bring it up when I put in those dates. But when I search it, it brings up a list of multiple people with that date in the state of Missouri. So I was trying to look at it. So
Tamara, I got to ask this. I think I asked this for every one of these. Some people may not understand the question itself, but does Mark Fullerton want to be found?
Yes.
This is. I know a lot of you are new to our channel, but in the years past, Dennis and I have had conversations, and this was before Tamara became a member of our team. There was, for some reason, there was just a huge spike of missing people. And we noticed this in Missouri and in Kansas. That, so many years ago, there was only handfuls of people that went missing. Of course, there is way more people that go missing in Missouri than there was in Kansas. But it was just like a light switch that, like in Kansas, it went from 4 or 5 people went missing one year to the next year it was 50 people went missing, and a year or two later it was 65, 70, and it's kind of the same way with Missouri, but just on a more substantial rate of people that just went missing. And I just don't know why. I mean, yes, we know crime. We know there's people that want to go missing, on their own accord. Just like the one gentleman that's been all over, social media, that the guy with his German Shepherd, and then his parents, released information and asked for everybody to stop looking because they had found out that their son had terminal illness, and they had ended up finding his dog and his truck and all his stuff at a beach, and they believed that he walked out into the ocean. So it's just crazy, the amount of people that are going missing, and why. What is going on between, everything from children to young adults to elderly people. It's just skyrocketed over the last few years. It's just out of control.
And you mentioned crime. We had a poll up in the chats on this case. The poll closed. 18 people voted, and the question was, is foul play involved in this case? 100% voted yes. Obvious, my personal opinion's 100%. Now, I do want to reiterate that our job and what we do isn't trying to prove guilt. Our job is to use that information to look at the locations of interest, do the search, and bring the missing person home.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Risen Voices says there's 622 adult missing in Missouri right now on the website.
It's crazy, is we have asked people, and we've put it out there, if you know something, we have a P.O. box address. I have one here in the town that I live. We have asked, for information. You don't have to put your name. You don't even have to go mail it in the county you live in. Go somewhere else and mail it. Don't put any information, but if somebody knows something, we just, like Dennis said, we're not trying to point the finger and blame somebody and get somebody arrested. We're just trying to bring someone home, to bring closure, to bring peace to someone's family. And, we do get leads on emails and stuff like that, but to this day, and I think we've had the P.O. box going on 2+ years, we have never once had one thing ever sent to our P.O. box. except for paperwork for the farm show where we do our booth. That's it. You know, we've tried and tried to get people to talk to, you know, if you know something, you know, there's ways of doing it to get something off your heart, off your mind, get it out of your system, however you want to say it. And nothing ever happens, you know.
And do you know the P.O. box address off the top of your head?
It is P.O. Box 93, Camden Point, Missouri, 64018. I think it's still in the banner stuff. If you look in the banner stuff, I think it was in that.
Okay.
The reality is no one will probably ever do it, and it's silly to ask people to do it. But you know, we try to give options, you know, for people to help. You know, if they know something they've heard, you know, like that. Yeah, we didn't even get a Christmas card this year or last year.
And you know, we had a stack of Christmas cards we were going to send out this year. And with everything that we had going on from everything, when we finally found them and realized, oh, we never sent these, it was like the day before Christmas this year.
Yeah.
Normally we'll have a stack that big that we send out everywhere, but we didn't get to it this year. We'll make up for it next year.
Yeah.
Very sorry to hear that, Natasha. Said, let's see, she didn't celebrate Christmas. Her cousin plus her niece overdosed and passed away in November. So she was a Scrooge this year. I'd say that gives you rights to be a Scrooge. This was a hard year when it comes to missing or losing loved ones. Megan and I lost our moms, lost some distant cousins. I mean, it was a crazy year. I'm glad 25 is over.
Yeah. For sure.
So, Alex, everything. Oh, got a question. There we go. Brandon is asking, was Mark's body dismembered in any way?
Okay. No. I can ask again.
I'm kind of glad that's the answer because I personally don't like those questions.
Yeah.
No. And I know it is hard to ask those questions with family in here. I've had a question or two that I've wanted to ask, but I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And it wasn't to that type of question that that was just asked, but you know, I just can't do it.
Was Mark taken to Stephen G's house at any point that night?
And no.
And Brandon said there's a lot of rumors, so sorry he had to ask that question. I get that. That is one of the downfalls of missing persons cases is they attract rumors like crazy.
Yeah.
And Brandon, that was one of the rumors that when we went to Arkansas that I was dealing with was dismemberment, being burned when we were doing that excavation stuff. So yeah, I mean, it is there. That it has been thrown out multiple times, for sure.
Was Brittany telling us the truth about Mark's disappearance?
No. Not completely.
And was there incriminating evidence on Mark's phone that was wiped clean?
Yes. Yep.
Did
Well,
Mark expect how to word this? Was Mark surprised by what took place that day?
Yes.
Is Mark located in a ditch near a school?
No.
I've never heard of Cellbrite, what Natasha is talking about there. I've never heard of that. Even, like on documentary shows, stuff like that, where they talk about, trying to recover stuff on phones and, devices.
Yeah, there's some things will still be in the phone records, but there's some things that are specific to the phone.
Yeah. Well, I know there is, if you do have an iPhone, I know, however, you can go back into the iCloud, the cloud, whatever all that is.
Yeah.
I know you can go back in and pull up people's names and pull up your text messages as long as that person is still in your phone list. If they're not in your phone list, it won't allow you to do it. I had to do that the year before last with a client that was not wanting to pay a bill. So,
Okay. Was somebody who was involved in Mark's disappearance now heavily involved in the church world and the church life?
Yeah. No.
Is Black Island a location that is related to Mark's disappearance?
No.
Oh.
Did a sign that said "Do not say or talk in this house or around phones" put in place to try to hide evidence from potential law enforcement investigation?
Okay, say that again.
Did the sign that said "Do not say or talk in this house or around phones" put into place to keep people from saying anything that could be picked up in a law enforcement investigation had they have tapped the phones or anything else?
Regarding this case, no. Regarding something else, yes.
Tamara's wearing your necklace, the bullet one. Is good for your pendulum.
Well, does anybody else have any questions? So, at Brandon, I mean, it definitely sounds like the area of interest that we discussed in the last episode that's been brought up multiple times. I mean, it sounds, like the logical place, because the last time, we had it was down on an investigation for Mark. We had a pretty good lead. And Mark's aunt Jenny, who passed away, she was very adamant that the leads, the information that she shared with us, was where Mark's remains were, and the stuff that they explained to us. They said we were going to find three things, and of course, the third one was going to be Mark's body. And as we did our digging, the excavation, we found the first thing, and we basically this is a test dig where we were, after we had already found the original area that Jenny wanted us to dig in. That is when we started doing test things. So this picture right here, one of the first things that we were told we were going to find was concrete underneath the dirt, where it looked like somebody had poured bags of wet concrete and just dumped it on the ground. We did find that. The second thing we were told we were going to find when we started digging down into the burn pile was we were going to find car or truck tires and wheels that had been burnt. Supposedly, Mark's body had been dismembered, and we were going to find the burnt tires and wheels were going to be on top of his remains. So as you can see, this is when we first started finding the tires and wheels that were burnt. And by some of the pictures, you can tell that that's a wheel. You can see the steel belted cords from where the rubber had burned off, but the steel belted cords were still on the wheels. We found multiple wheels like that. We basically dug down to where we were all the way through, this burn pile, and we got back down to untouched sand. So that's when we started digging, our test pits, trying to make sure we were in the right area. But that was the leads that came in. That Jenny was very adamant that she thought that's where Marc was. Marc's father was there. Marc's stepfather was there with us. And in the end, we didn't find anything. Through everything that's happened over the last month, this is an incredible lead that we definitely need to, move forward with. I think, it's looking, so far it's looking positively that this could be where Marc's remains could be found, is in this drainage canal, water canal, farm field drainage canal, whatever they call it down there. I don't know if it's a creek, what they actually call that. I really don't know till we do some more investigating into it and looking into it. But I mean, that's currently what I think, and that's kind of what the evidence and the leads and the facts are showing right now. Just from talking with everybody, stuff that has been sent in to us. We have had some people reach out through emails and stuff. So, that's definitely, I think, the place that needs to have some attention. There were some other locations of interest. When I remember talking with Marc, stepfather, his biological father, and he had told us about some, I guess they would be old style water wells on old farm properties. And I remember him telling us that he wanted to go there and look. And I remember telling him that we had some cameras that we could put down in there. And he said that the farmers didn't want people driving through the crops till the fall time. And, unfortunately, things didn't work out. So I don't know, we'll just have to, move forward with this, and hopefully there's a positive outcome,
Yeah, after the last live we did on March, I think that drainage ditch for me really stuck out as the location to kind of like a focus location, and then have other locations as backups in case that area did get cleared. And tonight, between the comments and the answers with Tamara, really kind of confirms that for me. And I feel even stronger now that ditch may hold answers and may be able to bring Marc home.
Something I thought of earlier while we were talking and going through this, and Tamara was answering questions. And, we can't take nothing back. We can't do no redos. We can't go ask questions. But, why didn't Jenny and them talk about the bridge? Why didn't we ever discuss this? Maybe it was just because that's what she didn't feel. I'm not saying, Marc's biological father or his stepfather didn't think of it one way or another. It's just, nothing was ever mentioned like, hey, well, I think we should look into this now since we didn't technically find anything. But we know that the neighbor lady in Arkansas did tell us, hey, y'all, she told my wife, and then my wife came and got all of us and said, hey, the neighbor lady's saying you're digging in the wrong place, that the burn pit was actually behind the house. But we know the septic tank was where the burn pit was. So we know stuff had been changed. But, we're at this road now. We're at the intersection that we need to take a new road on and move forward with what happens. I think you have another question. Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, was Ashley's cameras intentionally turned off when Mark went missing?
Yes.
I understand, Jana, and I wish, I wish we would have had, I wish we would have been in touch with you also at this time, and everybody that you had been working with, and I'm sorry we all weren't conversating or in I guess cahoots talking, however you want to say it. So I do apologize for that, but at that time, that was where, Mark's case and us was at, and the conversating and communication, and everything like that. So, I hope moving forward, into 2026 and, us, working on Mark's case, I hope things will move in a positive forward movement for you all.
And I do have to say here that back in that time frame, I didn't reach out for other family members because I was under the impression that all of the family was working together basically on everything. So I had just assumed that everybody was involved that was family and down there. So that's one of the reasons I never went outside of that circle of family. Was I had the impression that everyone was in contact down there.
Yeah. And Jana, I remember your brother mentioning you, and the stuff that I guess you all had done, but I guess we all just assumed, and I apologize for assuming, but I think we all felt that Jenny was the one leading the fight, and evidently now it looks like there was you all had Jana, you guys had your side and you were doing what you were doing, or your group, however you want to say the correct terminology, but Um, I just apologize. I apologize that we just didn't have that communication, or we just didn't know, 100% what was truly going on.
So, Jenna, do you live still in that area? You don't have to be specific, but anywhere around that area still? And she said her brother listened to the deputies way too long. That's why the ditch didn't get the attention. Yeah. I got to say, especially the year later when the comforter was pulled out of that ditch, law enforcement should have immediately pulled in the resources, had that thoroughly searched. There's no excuse why that shouldn't have taken place.
Yeah. Well, I wish we would have known more. Maybe we could have had that conversation of, hey, let's look at these leads. Let's look at the facts, what people are saying, what evidence has come from this, and, what, on this one. And, to a point, the Arkansas situation, I was 100%. We were going to find Mark. When we found the tires and wheels that were burned, my next question is we're going to find Mark. We've already found the concrete, that looked like somebody had mixed up bags of concrete and just poured it. And then there was the tires and wheels. I really thought we were going to find him that day. I was sending pictures and, talking to Dennis every probably 2 or I think we had to, a matter of fact, I know there was a time period where the phones were on the chargers more than they were in our hands because we were going through so much battery life so quickly, taking pictures and documenting. And, it was, me and my wife that had went down with some mutual friends to help. And then, Dennis and everybody else at this time was, back up home. So. Well, hopefully things will be better from here on out, Jana. So, like I said, I do apologize, Hey, Eric, thank you so much. And good night to you. Have a safe week. And absolutely. So thank you very much. I guess Dennis's pizza rolls must be done. He took off. Well, I know, Jana, when we first had conversations with Jenny, Dan, who used to be a member of our group, Dan and Jenny did most of the conversations in the beginning. Dan was communicating with her. I know Dan was helping her do some stuff, I believe, and she was working with Dan a lot as they were doing things on, for Mark's case. And then, she come on some of our shows, and that's when we really started getting involved in it. And, Um, sorry, my phone just went off. But that was our main communication, and Jana, I would love to be able for us, for Dennis and Tamara and I and all of us to talk with you one-on-one if you'd be willing to. I really would like to, just talk with you, whether we do like a Zoom call, if you would be willing to do that, or just on the phone, whatever, you would like to do. But definitely would like to do that, to talk to you more one-on-one. Because I didn't have, the only relationship I had with Mark, anybody else, was that day with, unfortunately, who's left would be you or Mark's mother and his stepfather, and we've never talked to them since that day. I mean, we never talked with Mark's mother, but the last time we talked to Mark's stepfather was that day when we were in Arkansas with them. So well, good night, Natasha. Thank you for joining us.
So my big takeaway from all of this is that this ditch, without a doubt, has to be our number one location of interest.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe, that's what has to be done next, and exhausting the efforts of that location and the way the water flows till however far we can get. I mean, unfortunately, that's, from that location with the flow, unfortunately, is where we have to look. And I don't want to say anything else, but I think that's what we just have to do. So, and hopefully he's still there somewhere, if there's the possibility that he really had some kind of chains wrapped around him, then more than likely he is still in the same place where he was put in at. Unless and I really have a hard time thinking if there was any kind of trees or brush that would get in there because of flooding and scrape along the bottom. The pictures that I seen of it doesn't look like that would happen. So
yeah,
I would say if he really was wrapped up with some chains, cable, something heavy to weigh him down, I would assume that his remains would still be there.
And tonight with Tamara, sifting seemed to come up pretty heavy there, and just the silt that would be in that creek, with him not being in a vehicle, something like that, then there's a good chance he's buried under silt.
Yeah.
So that does really make it more difficult as far as searching. And it was asked multiple times tonight, when are you guys going to come back down? One of the things we have to do is ensure that we have a diver or divers with us. So getting that lined up, making sure we had the equipment we're going to need for that type of search. So this isn't a search we're going to be able to like jump on and immediately run down there and do. There is a lot of stuff on our end we need to do and take care of first before we could set that search up.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately now is with the weather, the water temperature, all that, the ice. I mean, we're not going to. Now is just unfortunately not the time to do it. I hate to say that, but
We had Vanessa that asked, was Mark shot? The question did come up earlier, was a gun involved? Was there a gunshot? And those both got a yes. We're not saying that Mark was actually shot, but we do have a yes on a gun and a gunshot.
Yeah. It's good to ask lots of different questions in different ways. Helps you kind of reassure you're on the right path, or if you're not, it gives you a different direction.
yeah.
And was a question asked earlier about the search dogs? Were the search dogs close to finding Mark?
I don't know if we talked about it. I saw it. I got a yes. I don't think we talked about it, but were the search, did they come close? Were they on the right path? I felt like they were on the right path. Yes. Yeah, that case that was in Kansas that you posted earlier, it was the search dog that found her. So
Oh, man.
I think her name was Daisy.
And Mac Randall Jr. says you're going to need more than one diver just in case. Yes, I agree. And right now, it does appear that we potentially have 3 divers that we could possibly call in. So that will take some time getting with them, getting stuff lined up with them to ensure they would be able to do this, and then looking at the equipment we would need, ensure we have all of that to be able to get in to do this. This ditch does appear to be public property, I guess you would say. Couple things I do want to look into on that and confirm. Just simply on a legal standpoint of this, we don't want to go on a property and find out that we needed permission beforehand, and then we find something and all evidence get tossed out of court. So there is some research and things that we'll be doing on our end to ensure everything we're doing is legal to protect any evidence that is found. And Jana, we'll definitely keep you up to date on when we may possibly come down. And of course, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions too leading up to that.
Yeah.
Brandon says, I can get us access 90% sure to boat access from a property owner that was previously used. Awesome. So we are about 10 minutes away from when StreamYard can decide that's enough and
You guys are out of here.
shut it down. Sometimes we could go 2 hours. Sometimes it'd go 2 hours, 10 minutes, 2.5 hours. I think we actually passed 2.5 hours one night.
Yeah.
And it's so strange. Sometimes it'll let you in, sometimes it'll just shut it down.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Heck, there's times it'll just randomly kick somebody off the show for no reason. So
It's like, Tamara looks tired. Tamara's gone.
I'm actually doing pretty good, but yeah.
Mhm.
But I think we should also get a hold of Dan and talk with him, get some updates with him, see if he's got anything else on his end of this case too,
Yeah.
because he was such a big part of this case when he was with us.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good idea to involve him with this.
Yeah.
So, Jana, um, if we didn't find him in that ditch, I would be very surprised. I believe he was weighted down with the comforter, and when we pulled it, he rolled out. If that is the situation, the comforter was pulled out approximately a year after Mark went missing. So if that is the situation, then anything that was in that comforter could have moved downstream and could have at a fairly significant distance. If he was weighted down with anything else like chains, then he's going to be in that same area, maybe move downstream, you know,
We don't want to be
5 yards or so.
grounded.
But there is a chance if he was wrapped up in that and not weighted with anything else, that there could be a significant distance from that area that we would be looking. But that would definitely be our starting point, is where the comforter was found, and just slowly work our way down from there. Mac Randall Jr. says we miss Dan. Dan was a lot of fun.
Yeah. He was a hoot.
He was aggravating at times, and I could say that because I've told him this, but Dan was a blast. And his, especially behind the scenes investigative skills, were very good and usually very on point.
Yeah.
Vanessa's wondering if any farmers were involved in this case. Now,
He didn't know, like, direct involvement is how I'm interpreting it.
in camera, when the live ends and I pull a map up, some of those questions I think will help make more sense to you.
Okay.
So I guess I have a question for Jana. Was the comforter found on the bank side of the property where this supposedly happened? Is that where it was retrieved? Or was it retrieved on the opposite side? This is just thinking possibly when it went in, did it float and move around a little bit? Or was it still found on the same side as to the land where this situation possibly happened? So I guess Ashley's land, Ashley's family's land, however it correlates, how it's related. But was the comforter found on that side of the waterway, the canal, the drainage ditch? I hope she's still with us.
That is a very good question, Alex, because if he was weighted down, then that's going to pretty much confirm what side of that ditch he was physically put in on.
Yeah. So Brandon, are you saying you think he was? Are you? Do you think the comforter was found on that side of the waterway that was Ashley's family's property, etc.?
And also, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you put in the comments that you searched part of that drainage from a boat?
I think he mentioned that.
And also, if you remember, about how many feet across is the creek? How wide is it?
I know they had the pontoon on it.
As soon as Dennis gets back, we can put these notes in the file here. He must have had to warm up the pizza rolls again. I saw a catfish jumped in for a few minutes and disappeared. He was only here, then gone, just like a blink of an eye. But it looked like he had a different name than normal. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Well, while Dennis is gone, like I said, I just want to especially thank Tamara for what she did tonight. It's a blessing, to have her as part of our group, and what she does with this. It is very, to me, it's exciting. It's very informative, and like she says, it's not exact science by any means. It's just, it's another way to look at stuff. I mean. But I do, thank her, of course, and, just especially want to thank the audience for being with us tonight. At one time, I think I seen there was 25 or 27 of us. Yeah, we're down to 12 now. So at least that's what it shows on my phone, is we're down to 12. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Please like, share, subscribe. help, and of course, always, help spread awareness, spread, flyers, videos of anybody, we can honestly say that, these last few weeks has definitely been an incredible, you know, uplifting part on social media for Marc's case. We definitely have, brought some attention back to it. We have people talking again. So, definitely thank you to everybody that's been involved. Thank you to the people that's reached out to us privately, and just thank you very much. We can't do it without you. And, we are definitely blessed to have people that, will talk and help share information so that we can, try to help, bring closure, bring some peace to these families. So thank you very much. It's definitely wonderful that, you all participate and help.
Everyone had really great questions. So
Yeah.
everyone did a great job.
Yeah. I just kind of had a few that I wanted to ask, and I was just, I wanted the audience to have that opportunity for them to get their questions out. So.
And Janice says that it was in the water on the side of her house. It would be Ashley's house. And Brandon, if you don't mind, I would like to talk to you sometime. Putting my phone number in the chats. If it's Monday through Friday, before 3:30 p.m., it's iffy. If I could answer, I'll be at work. But anytime after 3:30 p.m., please give me a call sometime. I think tonight really helped clear some things up.
Yeah. I think so. I think it did. I think it's definitely a positive movement towards getting answers, for sure. So.
And thank you, Tamara, for doing that once again. Incredible job.
No, thank you very much. No, very welcome.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out really good. So.
Yeah, it's definitely was great information that came out tonight. And like I said, I just had a 2-minute ramble thanking everybody, but I'm glad that people can participate with, like our group, because we give those opportunities to ask questions that, people might not get to ask in other situations, on social media, whatnot, and might have the interactions they do. So very, I'm glad that we, allow this to happen, and we want people to help participate, so yes.
So guys, we're on borrowed time, so I think we should probably, we lost Alex.
Oh, yeah, we did.
So I think we probably should go ahead and shut this down tonight. Thank you guys for participating tonight and everything that you guys are doing to help bring Marc home. Tamara, any last words?
No, just thank you for everyone. Like I said, everyone had great questions and great discussion back and forth. And yeah, so hopefully we can get some answers at some point.
There's Alex. It kicked me off. So guys, don't forget, next Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, we will be live, and we will be talking about the Loy Evitz case again. So mark your calendars for that. Thank you for joining us tonight. You guys stay safe, stay warm all this winter weather, and we will see you guys down the road.
Thank you all.